It is started. Okay, so over here, what did I say? Greedy gets S3. Now, here's the thing about this problem is it's trying to illustrate that if you try to game the system, it might backfire on you. So greedy gets S3. S3 is worth $280 to him, at least with the numbers I have. And so greedy is getting more than a fair share. A fair share would be $250. He's getting $280. I guess I'm assuming it's a he. Yeah, people who are greedy are usually dudes, right? Anyway, but greedy gets a little too greedy and decides that he's going to say that he only would be happy with this one because that's his favorite piece there. So if that was the case, then here's how things would shake out. Maybe, let's see, it goes through this scenario, decides to only bid for S1, blah, blah, blah. So now we have a standoff between Brianna and Greedy. So Danny and Carlos are not part of the standoff. In other words, Danny is going to get this piece because no one else wants this piece. And then Carlos is going to get this piece because he says it's okay. Remember that Greedy is lying and saying that he doesn't think this is okay. That means that, wait, is that right? Or are there two? Oh, that's right. Sorry. I didn't read carefully enough, did I? Okay, so Danny, that's right. There are two rejected pieces. Since Greedy is not going to bid for this, it means both of those are being rejected. And so Greedy is like, okay, I don't like that. And so this is the one that Danny ends up with. This is the one that Carlos ends up with. And so Brianna and Greedy end up having to get between these two. So what happens is those two pieces get put back together, and then we do the divide and choose method. And apparently Greedy's the one that's going to have to divide. But notice what's going to happen to Greedy in this case. Greedy is going to have to take these two pieces, put them together, and together those two pieces, $300 and $150, they're worth a total of $450 in his mind. And he's going to have to cut it down the middle, which means in his mind, both of the pieces that he's going to end up with are worth half of 450 or 225. And so Greedy actually shot himself in the foot by bidding dishonestly and ends up with 225, which is less than a fair share rather than more than a fair share. So if you want to know how do I answer this with my numbers, I don't know, does everyone have different numbers or are they all the same? Well, if they're different, basically just take the two numbers that Greedy has for the two pieces that are left over and just read down here to figure out which ones are left over. I think it's S1 and S4 for everyone. Take those two numbers and average them together. And that's what Greedy's going to get in the end. So anyway, that's, yeah, a little bit long of a description there, but I just thought that was kind of a cool illustration of how, you know, sometimes you get away with bidding dishonestly, but it doesn't always work out that way. So this is true of a lot of things in life, isn't it? Where if you try to game the system, sometimes you get lucky, sometimes, though, things go terribly wrong. So what else do we need to talk about with this? So I don't have Greedy on my quiz. I guess I could have put Greedy on there, but I didn't. I have something much more like, I guess like this, where it's just a basic, straightforward thing with percentages. You want to do the quiz? You want to do it? I know you do. Awesome. All right, yeah, let's do this quiz. I'll give it to you, and then you can go nuts. Let me start at the back. I always start in the front. I don't want to neglect the back row people, even though they're kind of neglected. Joy. Perfect. You want those? Someone's got an extra one. Oh, two of you have an extra one. Very nice.
We don't have enough.
You have a deficit?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got extras. We can get into it. Okay. It looks like people are finishing up. Feel free to pass your paper over. But if you're still savoring this particular quiz, don't panic. Everything's okay. You still have a couple minutes. Whole row will be done with it. Good job. everyone get something? Did everyone get something? Excellent. All right, I think we got them all now. I have them all? All right, we're going to do it. Okay, so let's take a look at mine here, which I didn't even do because I was goofing around up here. So first things first, question A, who was the divider? It was Whack, because Whack thought that everything was evenly distributed. That's the idea. If you're the divider, you think that it's evenly distributed. If everyone bid honestly, what are the choosers' bids? So we have Jack would bid S3 and S4, because notice that both S3 and S4 are more than a fourth. Mac would bid S1, and that's it. Whack, we don't give Whack a chance because Whack's already had a whack at it. And then Zach is going to bid, Whack is the divider, that's why. Zach is going to be S1, S3, and S4. So there you go. That was part B. Part C, there are two separate answers, or two different answers for part C. So I'll just give them both. Let's see, it's Jack, Mac, Whack, and Zach. So first of all, the first one is, let's see, Mac has to get S1, doesn't he? And then we could do S3 and S4, which leaves S2 here. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is S4, S1, S2, and S3. Either one of those, everyone gets something that they think is at least 25%. 25% or more. Whew, anything, any questions? So either of those, you don't have to have both of them, just either of those, anything that would indicate that would be fine. Okay, so let me switch over to PowerPoint land here. No, not that. That looks scary, doesn't it? Come on. Close. There we go. Give me a sec. I gotta get the we're actually doing this one. That's what we're actually doing. Okay, so today we're going to study a method of division of junk or stuff called the method of markers. I guess I stole it from that textbook. But it was discovered pretty recently, 1975. I know that's before you were born, but it was after I was born. I remember 1975. Anyway, by this guy, mathematician. And the idea is that we want to be able to divide stuff up in a way that doesn't, we're going to get to an example where we divide things up in a way that requires us to have something liquid, some fungible, assets that we can trade, if you will, for the stuff. But for now, we want to do this without putting up any money, if you will. Oh, and I guess that's the sealed bids thing. But there, you can ignore this for now. But a couple of the things that are going to be important about this is that you have many more things to divide than there are people. So everyone's going to get a bunch of, like a handful of stuff. And they are reasonably close in value. So I've got here an example that I'm going to have you guys do in just a minute. And I was too lazy to make up one of these pieces of paper for everyone, and you can see even this. I wasn't very good at putting this together. But on this piece of paper, what you have to imagine is that after Easter, there's a whole bunch of candy left over, and we're going to divide it between 3 people. So it's you, your brother, and sister, maybe. And so this is the sort of thing that you would do with the method of markers. Notice that what you have here is you have a bunch of candy. There are 14 pieces of candy. I realize I have 13 numbers there. Don't worry, I'll explain why. But there are 14 pieces of candy. If you really want to know what they are, we have the Rolos. That's what these circles are. You have some junky Easter candy here, that Palmer brand or something. And then you have one Reese's egg. I mean, that is the good stuff right there. But anyway, so that's what we're looking at. And we're going to divide it up among 3 people. So let's just back up for just a sec. I'll show you this. You're going to actually do this. And you're going to get your candy. Don't worry. If you're really worried about candy, you're going to get some. If you don't want candy, you don't have to take it. You still have to play the game. So there are many more items to be divided than there are people. Like I said, in my scenario, there are 3 people, and in fact, when we play this game in just a minute, you're going to have to team up with 2 other people. So start thinking now who your other 2 people are going to be. Anyway, 3 people, dividing up among 3 people, and there are many more things to divide than there are people. This qualifies. There are 14 things to divide among 3 people. So we're in pretty good shape so far. The second requirement is the items should be reasonably close in value. So reasonably close in value just means that there's not a big difference between the various things on this list. You might say, well, wait a minute, the Reese's egg, there's only one of those. That's the most valuable thing there. Sure, but in terms of the value, maybe you'd say that Reese's egg is worth 3 of these junky chocolates. Okay, but they're close in value. They're not wildly different. It's not like this is 100 times the value of that. It's just 3 times the value of that. That's all. So those are the requirements. So how does this work? Well, let me go ahead and show you an illustration, and then we'll actually do this. So we'll divide into groups of 3, and we'll actually do it, and then we'll see if we can pass out some candy. So we're going to start by having all the items lined up in some random way. But it's a fixed sequence, kind of like what I have here. In fact, I think what I need to do is I need to do this in the groups. Yeah, just wait a sec. Don't go ahead and get in your groups yet. So we'll actually do this before we do the example that I have in the PowerPoint. So each player is going to independently make bids on the items. So here's where I need you to do some work. Then each player divides the array into segments of consecutive items. Okay, so here's the deal. Remember, you're going to be in a group of 3 people. So each person, each of you is going to be in a group of 3. And so independently, you don't need to know what your group is yet. You'll pick your group in a minute. What you want to do is you want to write down where you would divide these candies so that you have a fair division. Here's what I mean by this. There are 13 places that you could put sort of dividers. Here we go. I'll use this pencil and this pen as an illustration. I might put a divider right here and another one right there. And in my mind, actually that's not a very good example. Wow, this one's actually harder than I just threw them on the paper and I taped them down, but this is going to be a little bit harder than I thought. But anyway, so if this is what you thought, you would think that this is roughly 1/3, this is roughly 1/3, and this is roughly 1/3. In other words, put your markers down or try to figure out where your markers would be. And if I chose this, I would choose 4 and 8. Maybe if I thought this was better, this would be 5 and 10. But whatever you think is the best or the most appropriate, yeah, I realize now the Rolos, I should have mixed them up a little bit more. Decide in your mind and jot it down. So for example, I might just jot down 5, 10. That's where my 2 markers are going to be, let's say. So there's the start. Once you've done that, what you need to do is you need to get with the other 2 people in your group. Hold on a second. I will explain in just a minute, because I am going to, wait, do I need to play? Just a minute. I thought I was in good shape when I started, and then suddenly some people walked in late. Hold on a minute. Let me find out who's here. I need to do attendance again. Let's see. Ethan is not here. Jack is not here. Abby is here. Oh, we're in the worst situation possible. Well, what I mean by that is we aren't divisible by 3. And I want it to be groups of 3. So there's going to have to be one group of 4. Everyone wants to be in the group of 4. But remember, a group of 4 means that you have fewer candies. So I guess, yeah, I don't know how to make this work other than just to say, okay, how about this? Let's do, Yeah, just find a group of 3. And then if we're gonna have like one person that's left out, and that one person, I'll give you the Reese's. How's that? Anyway, yeah, so once you have a group of 3, let me know, and I'll give you this. Don't mark on it yet. Don't mark on it yet, but hopefully you've already making, so we need a group of 3, let me know. You've got a group of 3? You've got a group of 3? You've got a group of 3. You've got a group of 3? Who's your group of 3? This is your group of 3? Very nice. You don't have a group of 3. Wait a minute, someone's left out. No, wait, you've got a group of 3. You've got a group of 3, very nice. Look at this. This is so, are you a group of 3 here? Isn't that nice? Okay, this looks like a group of 4. I don't like groups of 4, I'm a group of 3. So, who's left over? Someone's left over? Adele is left over. You want to be up there? Up where? Oh, the left out person? Wait, who else is left out? Oh, you have a group of 3. I'm going to assume that one of these dudes is going to be even with the Reese's. Okay. And then Adele is wait a minute. Did I miscount? Who else is left out? Oh, you guys don't have someone. Look at that. Do you want to be up there? Yeah, go up there. Yeah, go up there with them. Are you out? You're out. Okay. Okay, so here's yours, and I'll get this one up there. Yeah, hang on to that. Be right back. There you go. Okay. Yeah, take it, go for it. Okay, so here's how the method of markers works. I'll be back there for you, Adele. Is each of you is going to, I need our page, just a minute. Okay, so each of you has made your choice. Did you make your choice, Adele? Based on the picture? Where the markers would go, you got it? You know where the numbers? Okay, so let me demonstrate how we're going to do this. So here's mine and Adele's, and I'm gonna say that my wife is playing this game too. So we get 3 people here. So there's our piece of paper. I didn't want to make up a new thing with all the candy for everyone because it was a pain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on here my markers. So this is going to be me. I'll put in for me. There, in and in 2. So notice what I did is this is Noonan 1 and Noonan 2. So my first marker is going here. My second marker is going here. So Adele, just for demonstration purposes, Adele, which numbers, where did you put your markers? 5 and 9. Okay, so Adele is going to share hers here. So this is going to be A1, and here is going to be A2. So notice where Adele put hers, and then my wife, she shows up. Wait, let me text her real quick. Where would you put your markers based on this? Okay, she told me that she's going to put hers at 6 T1 and at 11 T2. So do the same for each person in your group, and if 2 of you share the same initials, you're going to have to figure out who's what. So put your letters on the page. So you got letters. You have letters. You really have to figure this one out. Yeah, well, this is didn't you already? I thought that you were doing this. You already picked where the markers would go, where you break this into thirds. Yeah, it's your own personal preference. It's your own personal preference. So don't be swayed by your Really? Oh yes, I like that. I like your thinking there. That's great. All right. Oh yeah, this is a problem. Oh no, there's not multiple units today. It's a history. So. That works. You're supposed to pick it independently.
We are picking it independently.
Okay, good. Variation there. Oh, well, yeah, you're all done? Okay, so does everyone have, you should have exactly 6 markers, that is 6 little arrows pointing at the candy. Everyone's got 6 little arrows. You got them, Nick? Yay, 6 little arrows. Okay, so here's how we're going to do this. Start on the left, and Adele, I'm going to have to trust you to do this for you and me over there. So you're going to start on the left. What I did was I just made up some 3 people. Actually, my neighbor has 3 sons named Mac, Peter, and Frank. And so Mac, Peter, and Frank are going to do this, at least sort of simulate it. So what you're going to do is you're going to start on the left and move from left to right. And then the very first marker you get to, that is going to be for person, whoever that is. So here, this stuff, let me just peel this up here. This stuff right here is going to Mac. So there is Mac's pile. There we go. So that is for Mac. Mac gets that. So whoever is the first marker you get to, that's who gets the first pile. So Adele, which is the very first marker you got to? From left to right. Yeah, but which one's on the left? Which one? I am. I get the first pile. So yeah, put a line there and say, this is Noonan's pile. Okay, so far so good. So you know who got the first pile. Does everyone know who got the first pile? You got the first pile? Yes. Okay, now here's the confusing part. Just so I know that's the way it goes. But now what you got to do is whoever got the first pile, cross out all of the rest of their markers. So in this case, Mac has his pile. He doesn't need any more candy. So I'm going to cross out his second marker over there. Oh, no. Don't worry, we're going to explain. So did you mark it? Wait, who got the first pile? Alex did? Did you cross off his second marker? It doesn't make sense how he did it? Let me look at what you're doing here. Yeah, okay, Alex, you start over here. Wait, that's Alex's first.
Yeah.
Yeah, or is yours right here? This is right here, yeah. So here, put the line here. Yeah, because that's where you get the first solo, and that's it. Cross out his there. Yeah, I don't know, that must be user error. But it's too late now. Yeah, you get 1 Rolo, and that's it. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now for the next chore. So here's the next step. So at this point, what you're going to do is just temporarily, you're going to ignore all of the, see how we have all of the first markers over here on the left? Ignore them, skip over them, and go for the very first one that you hit that is a number 2 marker. So for me, it was Frank. So circle that marker just temporarily. The first of the 2s, the first one you get to, from when you're going left to right, the first of the 2s that's left over. Because Mac is done, so I don't have him. So far, so good? You have it? You figured out who that person was?
Yeah.
Okay, now for the hardest. This is the hardest part of this, is you have to take that Frank. So this is Frank for me. Frank, that's his marker. I'm going to take my pencil and work my way back to Frank's previous marker. So notice that Frank's previous marker is back here. I know this seems a little bit convoluted, but it'll make sense in just a minute. You see, Frank, here's the thing about Frank. Frank said, divide things here and here. And so Frank thought that grouping was a fair share. So Frank is going to get the stuff between those 2. So I'm going to peel this up. I know I wish you could peel up the candy and give it to the person, but don't worry, I have candy for you. For now, that is Frank. So there's Frank. Okay, so we've got Mac has a pile. Did you figure out what your middle group is? Adele, did you figure out who got the middle group? Who got the middle group? You did? Are you happy with it?
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, so Frank gets this middle group. And you've got the middle group?
I got the middle group.
All right, now here's the thing. If we had more than 3 people, we would do that again because there would be another set of markers. There would be a Frank 3 and a Peter 3 and a Mac 3, but we only have 2 sets of markers. So now what you're going to do is you're going to find the last of, there's only one person left to get candy, right? That last person, find their marker, their last marker, and give them everything to the right, because here, Peter's the last one to get candy. Peter thinks that all of this is a fair share, and so Peter's going to be happy. Do you see what we're doing is we're making sure that each person gets what they think is a fair share. So I peel this stuff up, and there's Peter's pile. Okay, almost done. What's left?
One step.
It's like there's some extras. Not everyone has extras. You only have 1 left? You have a bunch of, I have 3 left.
We have 3 left. Wait.
You have 3 left?
We have 5.
Yeah, so anyway, if you have any that are left, bear in mind that Mac thought that this was a fair share. So this, Mac would be happy with just that. Frank thought that this was a fair share. And so Frank would be happy with this. Peter thought that was a fair share. So Peter would be happy with this. So those 3 extras, you could just give them to me. Oh, no. Or you could divide them up randomly. Or you could, like if you only have 1 left, just pick a person at random to give it to. But whatever the situation is, everyone should be happy because everyone has at least a fair share. Since I have 3, it makes sense to just divide them up randomly. Let's see, Mac is going to get this one, and then Peter is going to get this one, and Frank is going to get this one. Now my job on the way home is to drop these piles of candy off with this kid's parents and let them have a sugar high tonight. I think that they will be happy with me. But for you, if you're worried about your sugar high, I have lots of extra candy here. So if you want to actually pull out what you deserve based on your division, I didn't want to have to tape all this up. I know Alex is getting just 1 Rolo, so he's going to get the Rolo. But seriously, if it'll help you, here's candy. I'll pass. Don't take too much though, because whatever's left over, I'll use in my office for Easter celebrations. There we go. So you can pass around. We do need to go over another one of these problems, but go ahead and take your Rolo or whatever else you think you deserve.
What's going on with your 14?
With what?
You know that?
No, I'm going to give these to the kids down the street. Yeah, no, they're getting them. And Adele, you can have yours if you want. And did you figure out what my wife gets? She gets the last grouping, right? Okay. Okay, I know it's exciting, but while they're doing this, let us do a similar problem. So while they're getting their candy out of the bag, let's go ahead and take a look at another example. Whoops, you can't see my example, so let me put it up here on the screen. There it is. And so in this case, we're going to divide up some Halloween leftovers among 4 kids. So here we have a situation where there are 4, not 3. So with 4 people, you need to divide this up into 4 groups. And if you're going to divide this into 4 groups, we need to each put down 3 markers. I mean, think about it. 1, 2, 3. Here, I'll even do this. Let's say that I think that I should divide it up like this. Then I've divided it into 4 groups. So you're always going to have one fewer marker than you have people. It's taking you guys a long time to dig through that. I just figured, oh, you don't need any? All right, he doesn't need any, so we're just going to pass it down this way. But just, you don't, I mean, you can go back to your seat if you want to. You can stay up here, though. I know you like it up here, but if you need a Reese's, here's a Reese's. Oh, no, that's for Mac. Here we go. Here we go, there. I'll give them the piece of paper as well. They always like it when I include them. Like on exams, I'll send them a copy of the exam that has their names on it. It makes them excited. These are elementary school kids. Okay, but getting back to this. So here's the deal. Let me get rid of my markings here if I can. There it is. So first thing, each child is going to write down exactly where he or she wants to put their markers. Each person's going to put 3 markers on this tableau of candy. And you can see that you have 20 pieces, 4 kids, and the pieces of candy are roughly the same value. I realize the suckers suck, and they're not as good as the M&Ms, but they're roughly the same value. It's not like you have something that's worth 1,000 times the other stuff. So anyway, let's say that this is where these kids put their markers. What I want you to do while you're getting your sugar high is determine who gets the first share, the one that's the furthest to the left. Take a minute and figure that out. You can discuss it with your friend if you'd like, and we will get an answer here in a minute. Okay, let's see if we can pick a volunteer here. Sorry, I got distracted. I know, it's like I'm a teenager or something. Yeah, looking at my phone and getting distracted by the YouTubes and the Twitters. Okay, so let's see. That's not you. Here we go, random. Look at that, Abby C. Abby C, you get chosen first to pick. Tell me who gets the first grouping. B does, very good. So you start on the left, you move yourself to the right. The very first marker, B is going to get this stuff right here. That's for B. Very nice. Now remember, when we move over to get the second share, you're going to ignore all of these first markers and focus on the second markers. Beyond that, we want to get rid of B. We've given B has their stuff. So let's get rid of B so that we don't get confused with B. So get rid of all of the B's. Now let's move over and see who gets the second share. Sydney, who do you want to give the second share to? Wait. C2, very good. Well, it's just C, but it's so it's person C. So here's how this works. You find the first of the markers in the second group, and then you work your way back to the previous marker. So you see how that worked? So you work your way back, and this is what C is going to get. So far, so good. I mean, it's really not all that complicated once you see, oh yeah, this makes sense. Well, maybe it doesn't. So get rid of all the rest of the C's. And now let's find the next volunteer. Addison, who gets the third share? A gets it, because just arbitrarily, A happens to be on the left here. You know, whatever. So we're going to put a line here. So A gets everything between there, if this will work, there it is, and their previous marker. So that's right there. So this is what A is going to get. Well, that seems kind of rude. We didn't give anything to D. Well, let's see if we can figure this one out. Ethan Klein, what do you want me to give to person D?
Everything to the
Well, not everything left over. It's everything to the right of D's last marker, and that happens to just coincide with A's last marker, but if it didn't, there might be a gap, so it's everything to the right of D's last marker. D's going to get that. It looks like we have some extra candy left over. Who do we give that to? Yeah, that's right. Give it to the teacher. No. You would divide it up randomly. I mean, everyone has B. B said this would be a fair share. That's what B said when B put the marker right here. B said here, here, wherever the other one is, and yeah, that would be fair shares. Nick, what do you think?
If there's 4 pieces left and 4 people, what do you just get one?
Yeah, but you'd still want to do it randomly because someone might say, wait a minute, Baby Ruth is better than Nutrageous. I guess all 4 of those pieces of candy have nuts in them, so if you're allergic, you're out of luck. Actually, almost all of this candy is allergens. Snickers and
Except for a Crunch Bar.
yeah, the Crunch Bar.
Crunch Bar has rice in it.
Yeah, it has, so perhaps that would be the only one that's okay. So maybe if someone's allergic, they would be like, this is a fair share right there. But anyway, or they might say, I'll take all the suckers. Okay, so there it is. That's pretty much it. Now there's a few minor issues that we need to talk about, and then we'll be all done. Let me just see, what do I have here? Yeah, we've already done this. Yeah, basically, we've already done this. Yeah, we already know who gets what. In the homework, yeah, let's talk about the things that could go wrong. So what could go wrong, you might say? Well, there are a few minor glitches. First of all, we assume that everyone is able to divide the array into some segments that are approximately equal value. You might have had difficulty with mine, especially with that one most desirable piece, the Reese's thing. And if you really wanted a Reese's thing, there's extras in the bag. Take one, please. I mean, like I said, I'll have them in my office. You can always stop by my office to pick up some Reese's if you really need them later on. Actually, I was going to save that bag for after Easter. I have some candy in my office for the pre-Easter candy, and then it's like after Easter candy is that bag. But I'm happy to share with you now. But anyway, it might be difficult for some people to make those divisions. That's a problem with this method. Another problem is that you have to have things that are all about the same value. In the case of these pictures that I was showing you up here, we had 20 pieces of candy, all about the same value. I realize the sucker is probably worth about 1/5 of a bag of M&Ms, but they're all in the same ballpark. Whereas in this ridiculous example here, you would have trouble if you had 19 candy bars and a Nintendo Switch, because the Nintendo Switch is worth vastly more. Is that the right terminology?
Yeah.
Okay. He's like, that I sense some doubt in your voice.
No,
PS5, is that a thing?
it's a thing.
Okay, my son-in-law got one for Christmas and brought it to my house, and I played it, and I was unimpressed. I mean, how is it any better than my Sega Dreamcast from 25 years ago? Same basic technology. But anyway, getting back to this, if you have things that are vastly different, you're going to have trouble. We'll deal with those situations on Monday. It looks like we have a few minutes left. Let me just show you the homework, and then we'll be out of here early. So give me a sec here. It looks like this we're going to exit. Hold on a minute. Here we go, method of markers. So, whoops, why? Oh, ignore that. I don't know why that's showing up there. Okay, so you'll notice that it's much more boring on the homework. You're going to see pictures like this. And so you're going to have to do the math in your head or figure out that this is A1, this is A2, and this is A3. So do your best, but if you need to, you can number them, and then it's going to ask which pieces is C going to divide to get, and so forth. And this is all prior to any of the final. Like when you get to the final, You'll have some extra candy left over that you're gonna divide up. This is gonna be one at a time? Oh, I thought, I'll have to change the settings, that's too annoying. Yeah, question 2.
Is that it?
Oh, there's only 2 questions? Oh, let me add some questions. No, I'm just kidding. There's only 2 questions apparently, so you'll be done with this super quick. By the way, you guys have been so good, I think I'll cancel all classes tomorrow. No class tomorrow, unless you have field. Sorry. You probably knew that already though, right? So we'll see you on Friday. If you do need a recess, feel free to take one. Otherwise, great day. How are you doing?
Well, my grandma died, so I won't be here Friday.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. That is actually tragic because your grandma was like 40 years old.
Oh, no, not that grandma. Another grandma that's really old.
Okay, a really old grandma.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and so I wish you well as you go and celebrate her life. And you'll be back Monday, though?
Yes.
All right. Well, blessings on your time with family. Take care. You gonna make it? Push through. You can do it. Whoops. Oh, yeah, just throw that away. Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get as equal a division as possible.